Hello and welcome back to the Amazing Justin channel. I'm Justin and we're going to be going through chapter 7, A New Beginning. So I'd come back to Worthing from Blackpool, broken, bruised and exhausted. And my sister Christine had arranged for me to stay with her, and she opened the door to me. There was no hesitation. Her flat was tiny, one bedroom, but she made space for me in the front room on the couch. And for 4 months I rested, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. I didn't know what was coming next. I just knew I couldn't keep living the way I'd been living. About 2 months in, and my sister Christine said, "There's an event at the assembly hall. Want to come? It's about a man who died, went to hell, and came back alive again." It sounded dramatic, almost unbelievable, but I went. That man was Ian McCormack, and that night something truly shifted inside of me. He told his story as he was stung by 5 box jellyfish in the Indian Ocean. He then dragged himself to the nearest hospital. The journey was something else, and eventually got there, trying his best to stay awake and stay alive. The medical staff looked at him and were all shaking their heads. He then thought, this is serious and he's going to die. He then saw his mother praying for him in his thoughts and knew that if he dies, she will think that he's gone to hell, as he was an atheist and led a playboy lifestyle. He then started to think that his mother would be so distraught from him dying that he remembered his mother was a Christian, and then thought, now a good time to believe in something that he hasn't believed in before. So he then thought and prayed to God and asked for forgiveness of his sins. And he remembered the Our Father prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. He then felt somewhere in his spirit that he was forgiven. He was in this room, curtains drawn, his eyes felt so heavy he couldn't keep them open any longer, and then said to himself, I've just got to close my eyelids and rest. He described waking in complete darkness. He tried to find a light switch to turn the light on, yet there was no wall. He then shouted out, "Hello, anyone there? Can someone turn on the light?" This voice came back, "Shut up, you're in hell." Ian replied, "What? I can't be." Then the voice came again, "You deserve to be here." Then heard nattering of teeth and this evil presence. So afraid, he then cried out, "Jesus, save me." And then this light, brilliant light, pulled him up out of the darkness into this tunnel, waves of energy washing over his body, being transformed, being forgiven, utter peace, utter joy. Love like he'd never known. He then saw this figure in the distance drawing closer to him and realised that it was Jesus radiating this immense light. Jesus then spoke, "Stay here or go back." He knew if he stayed in heaven, his mother would have thought he'd gone to hell. And so as much as beautiful heaven was, he chose to come back. However, there was a condition. Jesus said, he opened these large doors, and a very large number of people were there. And they were currently on their way to hell. Jesus said to Ian, "You need to tell your story to others when you return, so they have the opportunity of knowing me and being saved." He then came back. Now, people can debate near-death experiences, but for me, that night wasn't about arguing theology. It was about this. God is real, and eternity is real. And I wasn't ready. When he asked if someone wanted prayer, please come to the front. My mum stood up, my sister stood up, my brother stood up, and I had to shuffle out of the aisle to let them pass. And I thought, oh, what the heck. So I went up to the front, and as he started praying, something broke inside of me. I started crying, not polite tears, deep, uncontrollable sobbing, because I knew I didn't have a relationship with God. I had beliefs, I had experiences, but I didn't know him. And in that moment, I felt what I can only describe as the Holy Spirit making itself known to me. Unconditional love, forgiveness, not condemnation, not fear, love. And I dropped to my knees and I asked for forgiveness. That was the start. Not perfection, not instant transformation, but the start. Soon after, I met a man from the Jubilee Church who invited me to a service. It was in a school hall, nothing fancy, but alive with energy. Music that felt joyful, people who felt real. I'd grown up in a Roman Catholic church when I was younger. Quiet, formal, distance. This was different. It felt personal. I signed up for something called the Alpha course, and honestly, I was hungry for more. I wanted answers. I wanted truth. I wanted to know if this was real. And then one afternoon, lying in bed, I prayed something bold. God, if you're real, prove it to me. Not in arrogance or in desperation. And then I heard it, not out loud, but unmistakable. Justin, I love you so much. And again, the voice came, Justin, I love you so much. And I felt held, completely held. I whispered, you're God, aren't you? And the answer came, yes, I am Jesus. He told me my future was sealed in him and that someone close to me had been praying for me every single day. I knew who it was. I saw a picture of my mum and I felt him say, then what are you going to do about it? And I said, I'm going to get up and go and buy her a big bunch of flowers. So I did. I walked out of my flat along the path to the gate, and this guy was there, standing still, smiled and nodded at me, didn't say a word, and then walked behind me. Then, me thinking how strange, then no more than a few more feet, this woman did exactly the same thing, and then a few feet more, and then a third man exactly the same again. And then almost in slow motion, I looked behind and everybody had completely vanished. And I then dawned on me and thought, they must be angels or something. And they must have known that that was my first encounter with Jesus. Like they knew, call them angels, call it coincidence, but it felt supernatural. When I got to my mum's house, I knocked on the front door. I never usually knock on the front door. I usually just walk around the back. But this time it felt sacred. The door opened and it was my dad. You want Mum? Yeah, I said. She's just on the phone. She ended the call and I handed the flowers and said, thank you, Mum, for praying for me all this time. And she then said something that stunned me. That's so strange. About an hour ago, I felt the Holy Spirit come to me earlier. I knew something was happening with you. We both cried. And from that day, I began walking with Jesus. Not perfectly, not without doubt. I questioned everything. Was I being brainwashed? Was this emotional hype? But then came another moment, another encounter, and another undeniable experience of God's presence. And I realised something important. Faith isn't blind. It's relational. It's not about rules. It's about knowing you're loved. That season marked a complete turning point. The gambling began to fade. The highs I was taking started losing their grip. Not overnight, but gradually. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was rebuilding. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't running. I was coming home. Thank you for listening. And chapter 8 will be next.